First contact and humiliation. The massive rings of Saturn filled the viewport as Commander Sarah Chen adjusted her dress uniform one final time. Today would mark humanity's entry into galactic society, or so she hoped. The HFY Horizon, Earth's most advanced diplomatic vessel, had traveled for 6 months to reach this meeting point. Behind her, the bridge crew of 25 officers worked with quiet efficiency, each one selected from Earth's finest military academies. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission," announced Lieutenant David Park from the communications station. "It's from the Zephyrian fleet." Sarah straightened her shoulders and walked to the center of the bridge. Through the main screen, space itself seemed to shimmer and bend. Then, like ghosts materializing from another dimension, the alien ships appeared. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. The Zephyrian vessels were enormous, each one easily 5 times the size of the Horizon. Their hulls gleamed with an otherworldly silver coating that seemed to absorb and reflect light simultaneously. Strange energy patterns danced across their surfaces like living lightning. "My God," whispered Chief Engineer Rodriguez from his station. "How are those things even staying together? The structural stress alone should tear them apart." The lead ship, a massive dreadnought that dwarfed even its escort vessels, moved toward them with impossible grace. No visible engines propelled it, yet it glided through space like a predator through water. Energy readings from the ship's sensors showed power signatures that shouldn't have been possible with any known technology. "Open a channel," Sarah commanded, forcing her voice to remain steady. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth Space Vessel Horizon, representing the United Nations of Earth. We come in peace and hope to establish friendly relations between our peoples." The main screen flickered and changed. The face that appeared made several crew members step backward involuntarily. The Zephyrian was tall and slender, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow from within. Its eyes were large and silver, without visible pupils, giving it an unsettling appearance. Most disturbing were the creature's features, which seemed to shift slightly as if the face itself was not entirely solid. "I am War Marshal Crix of the Zephyrian 3rd Expansion Fleet." The alien spoke, its voice carrying an odd harmonic quality that made the translator work overtime. "We have observed your species for some time now. Your arrival here confirms our assessment." Sarah smiled diplomatically. "We're honored to meet you, War Marshal. Earth has long dreamed of this moment, making contact with other intelligent life. We hope this can be the beginning of a beneficial relationship between our civilizations." Something that might have been amusement crossed the Zephyrian's features. "Beneficial? You misunderstand your position entirely, primitive creature. This is not a meeting between equals. This is an inspection." The word primitive hit Sarah like a physical blow, but she maintained her composure. "I understand there may be technological differences between our species, but surely we can find common ground for cooperation and mutual learning." Crix made a sound that the translator identified as laughter, though it sounded more like wind chimes in a storm. Behind him, other Zephyrians appeared on screen, all making similar sounds. "Cooperation. Learning. Tell me, little human, what could your species possibly offer the Zephyrian Empire?" Before Sarah could respond, holographic displays materialized around the bridge. The images showed Earth from space, its cities, its military installations, even what appeared to be classified defense facilities. Sarah felt her heart sink as she realized the aliens had been studying humanity far longer than anyone had suspected. "Your fastest ships crawl through space using chemical propulsion," Crix continued, gesturing dismissively. "Your most powerful weapons are crude fusion devices that could barely scratch our hull plating. Your computers, which you seem so proud of, operate at speeds our children's toys surpassed millennia ago." The holographic display changed to show human military assets, satellite networks, nuclear submarines, aircraft carriers, all the pride of Earth's defenses. In comparison to the alien technology they'd witnessed, everything looked primitive and outdated. "Your medicine cannot even prevent your population from dying of diseases we eliminated before your species discovered fire," Crix added. Your energy production pollutes your own world because you cannot harness the power of your star efficiently. You fight among yourselves over resources that should be abundant with proper technology. Lieutenant Park leaned over to whisper urgently in Sarah's ear. Commander, their ship's sensors are scanning us constantly. They're mapping our entire vessel, including classified sections. Sarah raised her chin defiantly. Perhaps our technology isn't as advanced as yours, but humanity has other qualities. We have creativity, determination, and an ability to adapt and overcome challenges. We've survived ice ages, plagues, and countless conflicts to reach this point. This triggered more of that wind chime laughter from the Zephyrian bridge. Survival instincts. How fascinating. Most lower species possess such traits. It means little in the context of galactic civilization. The alien leaned forward, its silver eyes seeming to look directly through Sarah. Let me explain your situation clearly, Commander Chen. The Zephyrian Empire has claimed this sector of space. Your solar system lies within our territorial boundaries. As such, your species now falls under our jurisdiction. Sarah felt the blood drain from her face. Jurisdiction. Earth is an independent world. We haven't agreed to any such arrangement. Agreement. Crix's voice carried genuine surprise. You think this is a negotiation. This is notification. Your species has 30 of your planet's rotational cycles to prepare for integration into the Zephyrian Empire as a client species. The bridge erupted in barely controlled chaos. Officers looked to Sarah for guidance, but she found herself struggling to process what she was hearing. Client species. The implication was clear, even through the diplomatic language. What does integration involve? She managed to ask. Your governments will be dissolved and replaced with Zephyrian administrative systems. Your military forces will be disbanded. Your population will be relocated to designated areas for efficient resource extraction. Those with useful skills will be trained for service roles within the Empire. The rest will be assigned to appropriate labor tasks. Chief Engineer Rodriguez stepped forward, his face red with anger. You're talking about enslaving our entire species. Crix's silver eyes shifted to him with what might have been mild interest. Slavery is an inaccurate term. The Zephyrian Empire is quite benevolent. Client species are provided with food, shelter, and purpose. Many find their lives significantly improved under our guidance. And if we refuse? Sarah asked, though she dreaded the answer. The war marshal's features shifted into what was unmistakably a predatory smile. Refusal would be unfortunate. The Empire has dealt with recalcitrant species before. The process is thorough. On cue, the holographic display changed to show images of dead worlds. Planets stripped of atmosphere. Their surfaces turned to glass by unimaginable weapons. Cities that had once housed billions, now nothing but fused craters. The choice is simple, Crix continued. Submit willingly and retain some vestige of your culture and population. Resist, and join the archaeological record. Sarah stared at the images, her mind racing. 30 days. How could Earth possibly prepare for something like this? Their most advanced weapons were nuclear missiles that apparently couldn't even scratch Zephyrian hull plating. Their fastest ships would take years to reach the outer planets, while these aliens crossed interstellar distances like it was nothing. I need to return to Earth and discuss this with our leaders, she said finally. Of course, we would expect nothing less from a species that believes it has choices. Crix gestured, and the screen began to fade. We will return in 30 days for your answer, though I suspect the outcome is already determined. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. The Zephyrian fleet remained visible for several more minutes, their ships performing maneuvers that defied physics as humanity understood it. Then, one by one, they simply vanished, leaving no trace they had ever been there. The journey back to Earth took 3 days. Sarah spent most of that time writing her report, knowing that every word could determine humanity's fate. The crew worked in subdued quiet, the weight of what they'd witnessed pressing down on everyone aboard. When the Horizon finally docked at Luna Station, Sarah was immediately escorted to a secure transport bound for Earth. Within hours, she found herself in the deepest levels of the Global Defense Council headquarters, standing before the most powerful people on the planet. The council chamber was a circular room carved from solid rock deep beneath the Swiss Alps. Representatives from every major nation sat around a holographic display table, their faces grave as Sarah finished her presentation. "So that's it," said President Martins of the American Federation. "Submit or die." "Their technology is centuries ahead of ours," Sarah confirmed. "Maybe more. I don't see how we could possibly resist them militarily." General Thompson, the head of NATO forces, shook his head grimly. "Our entire nuclear arsenal wouldn't scratch one of their ships. We'd be fighting with sticks and stones." "Perhaps we could negotiate for better terms," suggested Premier Lai of the Asian Alliance. "Show them our cultural achievements, our art, our literature." Sarah remembered Crix's dismissive laughter. "I don't think they're interested in our culture, Premier. To them, we're nothing more than useful animals." The room fell silent. Sarah could see the weight of despair settling on the faces around her. "How do you fight gods?" Then Admiral Torres, the head of Global Defense Operations, stood up slowly. She was an elderly woman with silver hair and deep lines around her eyes, someone who had dedicated her life to protecting Earth. When she spoke, her voice was steady and calm. "There is one more thing we haven't discussed," she said, "something that requires the highest level of security clearance." Sarah watched as the Admiral entered a complex series of codes into the table's interface. Red lights began flashing around the room, indicating maximum security protocols were now in effect. 25 years ago, Torres began, we detected the first signs of alien observation. Long-range sensors picked up scanning beams originating from outside the solar system. We knew this day would come. She pressed another series of commands, and a holographic display changed to show a star map. But this wasn't any public star chart. Hidden markers indicated positions throughout the outer solar system, places where no human vessels were supposed to exist. "Project Silent Guardian," Torres announced. While the world watched our public space program struggle with chemical rockets and basic ion drives, we've been building something else entirely. The display zoomed in on a position in the Kuiper Belt, far beyond Pluto. What appeared to be empty space resolved into the outline of a massive structure, hidden among the debris of the outer solar system. "Deep Space Facility Omega-7, Torres continued. "And it's not alone." More markers appeared on the display. Hidden bases, camouflaged ships, weapon platforms that shouldn't have existed according to any public technology Earth possessed. Sarah stared at the display in shock. How is this possible? The resources alone. Every major nation has contributed, Torres replied. For 25 years, we've funneled money, materials, and our best people into this project. We've developed technologies that our public scientists don't even know exist. The display showed ship specifications that made Sarah's head spin. Stealth systems that could hide vessels in plain sight. Propulsion technology that could accelerate ships to significant fractions of light speed. Weapons that operated on principles you couldn't even begin to understand. "The Zephyrians think they know everything about us," Torres said with the first smile Sarah had seen since returning to Earth. "They're wrong. They've been watching our public face while our real strength remained hidden." General Thompson leaned forward. "How many ships are we talking about?" "Enough," Torres replied cryptically. "And they're crewed by volunteers who've spent years training in secret. People who've sacrificed everything to defend Earth without any hope of recognition or glory." Sarah felt a spark of something she hadn't felt since the encounter with Crix. "Hope. The Zephyrians expect to find a defenseless world," Torres continued. "Instead, they're going to discover that humans have been preparing for this fight longer than they've been watching us." She looked around the room at the assembled leaders. "The question is, are we ready to show them what humanity is really capable of?" The hidden fleet awakens. Deep in the Kuiper Belt, far beyond the reach of conventional sensors, Captain Marcus Webb floated in the zero-gravity observation deck of Deep Space Facility Omega-7. The massive structure had been his home for the past 8 years, and he still marveled at what human ingenuity had accomplished in secret. Through the reinforced viewport, he could see the sleek outline of his ship, the ESV Shadow Strike, docked alongside dozens of other vessels that officially didn't exist. The facility itself was a marvel of engineering, built inside a hollowed-out asteroid and powered by a fusion reactor that operated on principles Earth's public scientists wouldn't discover for decades. The outer shell maintained the appearance of a natural space rock, complete with artificial impact craters and mineral deposits that would fool even close-range scans. Captain Webb to the command center, Priority Alpha, came the announcement over the facility's communication system. Marcus pushed off from the viewport and glided through the corridors with practiced ease. The crew members he passed all wore the same expression he'd been seeing for the past week, focused determination mixed with barely contained anticipation. The command center buzzed with activity as officers monitored displays showing the entire solar system. Admiral Torres appeared on the main screen, broadcasting from Earth's Global Defense Council headquarters. Her weathered face showed the strain of the past few days, but her voice was steady and strong. "Ladies and gentlemen of the Silent Guardian Fleet," she began, "today we receive confirmation that humanity's greatest test has begun. The Zephyrian Empire has issued their ultimatum. Earth has been given 30 days to surrender unconditionally." A murmur ran through the command center. Marcus felt his jaw clench as he remembered the intelligence reports about alien client species, entire civilizations reduced to servitude or worse. However, Torres continued, they have made a critical error. They believe they know the full extent of human capability. They are wrong. The display behind Torres changed to show fleet positions throughout the outer solar system. Red dots marked Zephyrian observation posts, while blue dots showed the hidden positions of Guardian fleet assets. Marcus was amazed to see just how extensive the network had become. Project Silent Guardian is now fully activated, Torres announced. All fleet assets are to assume combat readiness. Intelligence indicates the Zephyrians will return in exactly 29 days with a full invasion force. We will be ready for them. Marcus looked around at his fellow captains, all participating via secure hologram from their respective ships. Captain Elena Vasquez of the ESV Phantom, Captain David Kim of the ESV Wraith, Captain Jennifer Stone of the ESV Spectre. 36 ships in total, each one a technological marvel that pushed the boundaries of what was possible. Captain Webb. Torres addressed him directly. The Shadow Strike will lead the first strike group. Your target is the Zephyrian command vessel. Intelligence suggests their entire fleet operates under centralized control. Remove their command structure, and their coordination will collapse. Marcus nodded grimly. Understood, Admiral. What's our intelligence on their defensive capabilities? Commander Sarah Chen appeared on the screen beside Torres. Marcus recognized her from the intelligence briefings about first contact. Captain, the Zephyrians are overconfident. Their shields are designed to stop the kinds of weapons they expect us to have. Nuclear missiles, particle beams, conventional explosives. They've never encountered our quantum disruption technology. The quantum disruptors were perhaps humanity's greatest secret achievement, based on theoretical physics that pushed the absolute limits of scientific understanding. They could phase matter at the subatomic level, effectively allowing weapons to pass through conventional shields as if they didn't exist. Additionally, Chen continued, their sensors are calibrated to detect known propulsion signatures. Our gravity manipulation drives should keep you invisible until you're ready to strike. Marcus smiled grimly. The gravity drives were another piece of impossible technology, allowing ships to manipulate space-time itself rather than relying on conventional reaction mass. To outside observers, ships using gravity drives would appear to simply vanish, slipping through space without leaving any detectable signature. Fleet deployment begins immediately, Torres announced. Captains, you have your orders. Remember, Earth is counting on all of you. Show these aliens what happens when humanity is pushed too far." The transmission ended, and Marcus immediately headed for his ship. The Shadow Strike was a work of art. Its hull constructed from metamaterials that could bend light around the vessel. Even up close, it was difficult to focus on, seeming to shift and blur at the edges. The ship was smaller than traditional battleships, built for speed and stealth rather than overwhelming firepower. As Marcus settled into the captain's chair, his crew reported readiness from their stations. Lieutenant Commander Rebecca Torres, the Admiral's daughter and the ship's executive officer, slid into the seat beside him. "All systems show green, Captain. We're ready to undock on your order." "Take us out, Commander." "Silent running protocols from the moment we clear the facility." The Shadow Strike slipped away from Omega-7 like a ghost in the night. Around them, other ships were doing the same, spreading throughout the solar system in a carefully choreographed dance of positioning. Each vessel had specific coordinates and timing, designed to create a trap that would catch the Zephyrians completely off guard. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Park from the sensor station, "I'm tracking movement from the inner system. Looks like the Zephyrians are beginning to position observation posts near Mars and Jupiter." Marcus studied the tactical display. The aliens were being methodical, establishing a network of sensors and communication relays that would give them complete coverage of human space. It was exactly what the Guardian fleet had hoped they would do. "They're creatures of habit," Rebecca observed. "Intelligence says this is the same pattern they've used for the past dozen conquests. Establish surveillance, issue ultimatum, then arrive with overwhelming force for the final subjugation." "The problem with patterns," Marcus replied, "is that they make you predictable." Over the next 28 days, the Guardian fleet moved into position with painstaking care. Each ship found its assigned coordinates and went into full stealth mode, becoming invisible to Zephyrian sensors. The aliens continued their methodical preparations, never suspecting that every move they made was being observed and analyzed. On Earth, the public story was one of desperate preparation. Conventional military forces were mobilized in a display that looked impressive, but was really just theater. The real preparations were happening in the shadows, as Guardian fleet assets fine-tuned their positions and ran final systems checks. Marcus spent the waiting time studying everything humanity had learned about Zephyrian tactics and technology. The aliens were technologically superior, but they fought like a species that had never faced a real challenge. Their formations were textbook perfect but inflexible. Their weapons were devastatingly powerful but slow to retard it. Most importantly, they had never faced an enemy that could match their stealth capabilities. On the 29th day, long-range sensors detected the arrival of the Zephyrian invasion fleet. Marcus watched the tactical display with professional interest as hundreds of alien vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Saturn. The fleet was massive, easily large enough to sterilize Earth's surface several times over. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Park. "There are so many of them." "Numbers aren't everything," Rebecca replied, though Marcus could hear the tension in her voice. The alien fleet began moving toward Earth in perfect formation. At their current speed, they would reach the inner system in 6 hours. Marcus opened a channel to the rest of the Guardian fleet. "All ships, this is Shadow Strike Actual. Primary targets have arrived. Execute Plan Prometheus on my mark." Across the solar system, 36 ships began final preparations. Weapon systems came online for the first time in years of hiding. Stealth fields were adjusted to maximum efficiency. Crews took their positions at battle stations that had been drilled countless times, but never used in actual combat. The Zephyrian fleet passed Mars without slowing, their sensors focused forward toward Earth. They had no idea that hidden among the asteroids, human ships were moving to intercept positions. The trap was almost ready to spring. "Zephyrian command vessel identified," reported the sensor officer. "It's the large dreadnought in the center of their formation, exactly where intelligence predicted." Marcus studied the enemy flagship. It was even more massive than the ships Sarah Chen had encountered during first contact, bristling with weapons and protected by energy shields that glowed visibly around its hull. Taking down something like that would require perfect timing and coordination. "All ships report ready," Rebecca announced. Marcus took a deep breath. Everything humanity had worked toward for 25 years came down to the next few minutes. "All ships, execute Plan Prometheus. Show them what Earth is really capable of." Space erupted into chaos as 36 ships suddenly appeared where moments before there had been empty void. The Shadow Strike led the charge, her quantum disruptors lancing out toward the Zephyrian flagship. The alien shields flared and died as the weapons passed through them like they weren't even there, striking the hull beneath with devastating effect. Around them, the rest of the Guardian fleet struck with surgical precision. Each ship had been assigned specific targets based on detailed intelligence about Zephyrian fleet composition. Command vessels, sensor platforms, and weapons coordinators all came under simultaneous attack. "Direct hit on the flagship," reported Lieutenant Park. "Their command structure is crippled." Without centralized coordination, the Zephyrian fleet began to fragment. Individual ship commanders tried to take initiative, but they had been trained to follow orders, not make tactical decisions under pressure. The result was chaos as different groups of ships pursued contradictory objectives. The Guardian fleet struck again and again, appearing just long enough to deliver devastating attacks before vanishing back into the void. The Zephyrians found themselves fighting ghosts, unable to target enemies they couldn't see or predict. "Captain," Rebecca reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the Zephyrian fleet. They're requesting a ceasefire." Marcus allowed himself a tight smile. "Put them through." The face that appeared on screen was War Marshal Crix, though he looked far different from the arrogant creature who had dismissed humanity weeks earlier. His blue skin had paled, and his silver eyes darted nervously as he spoke. "Human vessels, this is War Marshal Crix of the Zephyrian 3rd Expansion Fleet. We request immediate cessation of hostilities for negotiation." "This is Captain Marcus Webb of the Earth Space Forces," Marcus replied formally. "You are currently in violation of Earth territorial space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." "You don't understand," Crix said, his voice carrying desperate undertones. "Your technology, it's impossible. How are you doing this?" Marcus exchanged glances with Rebecca. The aliens genuinely couldn't comprehend what was happening to them. After centuries of easy conquests, they had finally encountered an enemy that fought back effectively. "War Marshal," Marcus said coldly, "you came here expecting to find primitive creatures you could easily dominate. Instead, you've discovered that humanity has been preparing for this moment far longer than you've been watching us. The question now is, do you withdraw peacefully, or do we continue this demonstration?" On cue, the Guardian fleet materialized around the alien formation, surrounding them completely. Every human ship had its weapons trained on Zephyrian vessels, and this time they didn't disappear. The message was clear. The trap was complete. Crix stared at the tactical display, showing his fleet surrounded by enemies that shouldn't have existed. "How long?" he asked quietly. "How long have you been preparing for this?" "Long enough," Marcus replied. "The question is what happens next." Earth is willing to establish diplomatic relations with the Zephyrian Empire, but as equals, not as subjects. The alien's expression shifted through several emotions before settling on something that might have been respect. "You have proven that humanity is more than we assessed. The Empire will need to reconsider its position regarding your species." "See that it does," Marcus said. "And War Marshal, next time you encounter a species you think is primitive, remember this day. Sometimes the greatest strength is the one nobody sees coming." The Zephyrian fleet began withdrawing, their perfect formations now ragged and uncertain. As they disappeared back into faster-than-light travel, Marcus opened a channel to Earth. "Control, this is Captain Webb. Package delivered successfully. The galaxy now knows that humanity is not to be underestimated." Admiral Torres appeared on screen, her face showing relief and pride in equal measure. "Well done, Captain. All of you. Earth owes you a debt that can never be repaid." Marcus looked around at his crew, then out at the stars where other Guardian fleet vessels were beginning to decloak. "We didn't do this for recognition, Admiral. We did it because it was necessary." As the Shadow Strike began its journey back toward the hidden base, Marcus reflected on what they had accomplished. Humanity had faced its greatest test and emerged victorious, not through superior firepower, but through preparation, ingenuity, and the determination to never surrender. The galaxy was a dangerous place, full of species that saw others as either useful or expendable. But today, one more civilization had learned that humanity belonged in neither category. Earth had earned its place among the stars, and the silent guardians would make sure it stayed that way. In the depths of space, hidden among asteroids and debris, the Guardian fleet resumed its patient watch, ready to defend humanity against any threat, seen or unseen, that might emerge from the vast darkness between the stars.